Tonight, Ben Robert-Smith launches an appeal against the court. Lawyers
And
say
for
he
Word
doesn't have
Up,
a leg to
Kylie
stand
Bracknell
on.
reflects on the Noongar word for watching together. That's all coming up on a way, but right now...
And
you've got us into a... You've got a weird thing coming through.
Are you patching ABC Radio into... Okay.
Well, we're hearing about a Noongar word, and that sounds like
it's not.
Maybe it might be coming from your studio.
Or coming from Radio National or something?
I have 2 channels open and these are the only ones. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Okay, here we go. I'll just start again. Here we go. Tonight, Ben Robert-Smith launches an appeal against the court. Lawyers say...
Away it's next. And today, 11-year-old Noongar Wongai rapper Inkaby and his dad Fluent have... Now it's news time.
Now it's news time? Somebody...
I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm just going to, I don't know, reload everything, I guess. Sorry, everyone.
Imagine if it wasn't Ange, someone else. I was like, oh fuck, I've got my secret ABC news files that I listen to just loaded up on my Spotify.
Is that a thing? Is it still working or no?
No, it sounds okay. Yeah. I'll just.
I'm not hearing any of that, so I don't know. Yeah, right.
Here we go. Tonight, Ben Robert-Smith launches an appeal against the court. Lawyers say he doesn't have a leg to stand on. And Prime Minister Albanese is sending 30 more Bushmasters to Ukraine, leaving Australia defended by a guy named Phil who has a lot of long service leave to cash in. And in just 1 week, Instagram's threads have clocked up millions of posts, mainly from Lewis Hobber. It's the 14th of July, and with more Bushmasters than Australia, this is A Rational Fear. G'day, welcome to Rational Fear. I'm your host, the newest member state for NATO, Dan Illich, and this is the podcast that takes a more serious look at the news and give it a little bit of a tickle at the same time. On the show tonight, we'll be talking threads, climate change, and AI with the following Fearmongers. By day, they're a mild-mannered science communications professional. By night, they're a drag king. It's Lee Constable. Welcome, Lee.
Hello. Great to be with you.
You're going to be doing science communication as a drag king.
Yes.
What's your drag king name?
His name is Milton Mango. He's with a capital Man. He's an apprentice manscaper by day and a science nerd by night.
Now, I don't know. Like, I'm not from... That sounds like a very Queensland name. Can you explain to people who aren't from Queensland what it is about Milton Mango?
Yeah, so I was living in Brizzy when I first did drag as Milton, and our Milton Mango is Queensland slang for a tinny of 4X because the 4X factory is on Milton Road and
the same size as the mango.
Yeah, mango.
And they're the hardest working person in ABC News Current Affairs Division, not by choice. It's just that there's a lot of job sharing these days due to the cutbacks. It's Angela Varpierre. Ange, welcome back to the podcast. It hasn't been very long. It's only been a mere couple of weeks.
No, I know. It's all part of being hardworking. Remember when job sharing used to mean that you did less work, like you did like 3 days a week? And now job sharing means all the jobs are shared and you do 7 days. That's what that means now.
And he's the last geriatric millennial on-air talent to leave their job at the youth broadcaster. It's old man Lewis Hobber. Congratulations on leaving today. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Escape velocity.
What was that last bit?
I said you got escape velocity from Triple J.
Yes, they finally got rid of me. I've been hanging on by the skin of my teeth for decades.
Have you had some nice reactions from people who are going to miss you? Like, I know I read a lot of comments on the internet, and people love you and him.
It is baffling, isn't it? But yeah, people. It is. It's been really nice. I usually steer away from getting too deep into comments. I flick over, but I don't go deep. I know you often come and you're like, "Have you seen what they're saying about you on Reddit?" And I'm like, "No," and I never will.
Well, I brought a comment with me from the Sydney Morning Herald.
Oh, sure.
At the bottom of the article that announced your departure, Lloyd Braun said, Triple J used to have great and clever broadcasters. It was the breeding ground for the new and innovative. It was cool, fun, and respected. It's become something else. It's a bit corporate. Someone should let Hobber and Hing know the ABC is not a company. Well,
corporation.
Yeah.
Lloyd Braun, you should know that the ABC is a corporation.
Jesus. Yes.
It's just like the kind of people that write those comments are completely unhinged. It's like they haven't consumed the product in 1,000 years.
It is so funny because 99.9% of the comments have been lovely, normal, and I am very, I guess, proud of the fact that generally speaking, the people who listen to our show are also people who I think I would get along with to a point. You know what I mean? Like, which I think is nice. But of course, it's the people who don't listen to your show, who haven't listened to Triple J in 10 years. And you see it on like the, I guess, legacy social media like Facebook, where people are like, haven't listened in years, but I bet they're shit. And you're like, why?
And have you had like commercial entertainment reporters like Peter Ford go, Hobber and Hing, I've never heard of them.
No, although I mean, someone did say that about Hing a few months ago, which is kind of insane. At the time, he was complaining about racist attacks on the internet, and this white guy was like, "Sorry, bud, never heard of you." You're like, "Awesome," because that
was my favorite commercial entertainment reporter, Peter Ford, who never hears of anyone. Like that's his standard thing. If there's controversy, it's like, "Oh, look, I've never heard of them, so they can't be that good."
Yeah, incredible reporting. Do a Google, you fucking idiot.
Do your job as an entertainment reporter.
Look, in Australia, the job of an entertainment reporter is either be Richard Wilkins and drunk at every event, or the other guy who like outed people without their knowledge. They're the two types of entertainment reporter we have: drunk uncle and surreptitious outing. But no, we had very lovely people saying very lovely things. It's been a delight, and it's been really nice.
Oh, that's great. All right, let's play Hang On a Sec. Now, it is winter in Australia, and there is little more that makes me depressed than social media feeds of other Australians in Mediterranean climes. But there's one thing that makes me feel better, and that's seeing videos of Americans in the Mediterranean try to deal with being American in the Mediterranean. I'm going to play Hang On a Sec. I'm going to play a video of an American tourist on the Amalfi Coast having a bit of a whinge. Whenever you want to chime in with a joke, just say, hang on a sec.
Every single influencer and TikToker who put the Amalfi Coast on my For You page over the last 2 months deserves jail time. Because while they showed you the gorgeous coastlines and the cute little towns, what they didn't tell you were the disclaimers. First of all, it's impossible to get here. You have to fly into Naples. Then you have to take a train from Naples to Sorrento. Then you have to stand in 90-degree weather waiting for a ferry to get on a ferry with all of your luggage. Mind you, we've been in Europe for 2 weeks. All of your luggage, lug it onto the ferry, get to Amalfi Coast.
Hang on a sec. You've been in Europe 2 weeks. How much luggage are you carrying? What is going on here?
Also,
10 bags?
One of the nicest things in the world is being on a European ferry. Like, if you aren't enjoying that, you're not on holiday.
Yeah. Also, I mean, she's like, and I've got so much luggage. It's like, who made you? Like, who threatened you? Like, are you okay? Like, blink twice if you're like, are you being held hostage? Like, is someone making you? Is this some sort of Chappelle Corby situation? What's going on?
And she only decided to go there when she learned of this 2 months ago, because it was only the last 2 months of her TikTok feed that had set her onto the Amalfi Coast.
So. The Amalfi Coast didn't exist.
It's like, I've been looking at TikTok and I've just heard about this place. Hang on. Italy?
You have to fly there. Outrageous.
Then, to get to the highest of the high points, the beautiful hotels with the gorgeous, there's no streets here. There's no cars driving. So you have to walk up 160 stairs with all of your luggage to get to the top of this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous area with these beautiful views, carry it, and then also all the power went out because the Amalfi Coast doesn't have the infrastructure to support this tourism.
Hang on.
Oh my God.
Hang on a sec. You're not in traffic, you are traffic, right? like if the power crashed because there are too many people there, fucking leave.
It's like during the
It's on
pandemic,
you.
I just wanted 50 rolls of toilet paper, but there were all these other people who seemed to want toilet paper.
So annoying.
Rude.
So annoying. Oh, wow. I'm I'm doing a real asshole thing, and I'm actually I'm going. I'll be where she is in a week.
They
So
were
I
weird as
will-
stairs.
I
will be
want
traffic.
to let everyone know here that I am aspirationally wanting to be an asshole. Like, hopefully next year I'll be that person.
Well, weirdly, Ange and I have actually been at the Amalfi Coast together and experienced that exact thing. And it was charming as hell. You'd get to the bottom and you'd be like, hey, we don't have any way to get up the stairs. And some like delightful Italian man who worked at a supermarket would put you in the back of his sweet little car and he'd zip you up to the top and he'd go, no walking around here. This is our beautiful home. And you're like, we met all these beautiful people. It was like one of the loveliest, most charming Italian experiences I've ever seen and heard of.
I love that that's the version you remember, because like there was that one time that that guy drove us up the hill, and is like that Italian grocer drove us up the hill, and there were like another 6 times when we did climb the 160 stairs and sweated our asses off, but like it was still
nice.
fine. It was still charming. Like
Yeah.
it was. Listen to me. I was about to be like, it was still fine. Like it was fine. Like I'm about to be. I'm morphing into that woman.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the people that live at the Amalfi Coast live to about 100. It's because they are climbing that 161 stairs all the time. And sadly, Americans don't have the opportunity to climb
It's
stairs.
because they're drinking the blood of American tourists who post TikToks like that. That's what's giving them long life. 1,000%.
This week's First Fear, Australia is set to join the Climate Club. It's an initiative by the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz designed to lower carbon emissions by putting a price on carbon and taxing high carbon products. Oh, he was, I thinking that club's meant to save you money. It's the kind of club that you would like to be a part of. Would you say, Lee?
Yes, definitely. I love a club. I was in the Land newspaper Beehive Club as a kid. I was in the local poultry club. And I didn't join Farm Club at school because I said farm clubs for town kids. But that's because I respected that you should only join a club if you feel like, you've got something, they've got something you want. Like there are some clubs that you shouldn't join because you're not qualified. There's gentlemen clubs out there that I probably am not going to be a part of.
Oh, if you can turn up a drag king, they should let you in.
Well, Milty would be welcome. But yeah, the Climate Club is full of a lot of countries doing a lot more, with a lot more ambitious targets than we have. So it's going to be interesting to see us trying to fit in the club.
I love the fun rebrand. The fun rebrand from we used to talk about a carbon tax and now we talk about the Climate Club. Like we're making it sound like it's giving Saddle Club, like I want to be in the club.
Yes. Yeah. And they're even going to have, there's talk of them kind of taxing other countries that aren't in the club and giving each other little concessions, I guess, for being in the club, and having this as a way of countries working together to bring emissions down. But it doesn't
suggest
exactly
a tax for
Yeah.
everyone. I think it should be 50 Cent, the original creator of being in the club.
The club. In the club.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's getting hot in here.
That was Nelly, but yeah.
Oh! I'm with the pop culture of the 2000s.
Of the very early 2000s.
Yeah.
I think I just embarrassed myself there. I think you're fine.
It is the G7, and then there's a whole bunch of other countries that have signed up to it as well. The EU, Australia, Argentina, Chile, Indonesia, Colombia, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands have all signed on as well. I think, surely Luxembourg and the Netherlands, surely they're in the EU. Why do they put that in the article twice? Doesn't matter. But it's kind of interesting. It's like Australia makes some of the highest carbon products in the world, and we export it. Is it better for us to be outside of the club or inside of the club?
Better for who?
Better for Australia, because it's going to be a really expensive proposition if they're taxing high carbon products. Is this the way to get away with it? Is this the way you get out of it, like with a Diners Club card or something like that?
Well, the thing is, like, once you're in a club, I think the best way, like, you know how they talk a lot about how they get you into a cult, right?
Yeah.
There's they start you off by love bombing you, and then they get you in. And once you're in the cult, that's when they can start making demands. It's quite hard to make demands when you're outside the cult. So I think, and I'm not calling climate change enthusiasts a cult. I know there are those who do. It's not me. But
What podcast have I come on? Have you guys been body swapped? What the hell's going on? You're like, climate change. Should we address it? I don't know.
And a lot has changed in the last 3 weeks. We've had some sponsor turnover.
Yeah, I'm leaving Triple J, and I've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson.
It shows.
No, I think that if you were trying to get someone to make changes, you'd invite them into the club, and then you'd threaten to kick them out of the club. No one wants to be kicked out of any club ever.
Oh, would there be some kind of initiation? Like, would we we all have to drink from a secret keep cup or something like that to kind of stay in the club? Or is there a clubhouse? That's what I want to know. Like, is it like, does it have ocean
It's
view?
the greenhouse effect, Dan.
It's built on broken promises. You'll love it. You'll love it.
I reading this story, I realized something quite embarrassing. And it's that, because I was reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, trying to get down emissions. I'm like, wait, do we have a carbon price in Australia? And I realized that I didn't know, because that's how much the conversation has kind of gone away off the policy agenda here. Like that, it was, and this is also saying a lot about where my focus has been for the last couple of years, which has not been reporting on this particular policy area, because there's just kind of this sense that, oh, well, Labor is in and they have strong positions on carbon, on climate change mitigation. And so I'm sure that they're taking care of it. And, maybe people stop paying attention, or maybe it was just me. I'm not really sure. Dan, you're probably across it.
I think you're right. I think they got in with some promises, and now all those promises are gone.
Yeah, I think.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happened. Yeah.
I think there's been 3 big fossil fuel projects approved in the term so far.
There's a great photo of Tanya Plibersek flying over the Murray-Darling Basin last week in a private jet, looking sorrowfully out the window going, we should do something about this.
If only...
It's like, if only I had the power. If only I was in some sort of position of authority. Oh no.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, they've got really good PR when it comes to climate, because like you said, a lot of people like you, Ange, would be out there going, well, that's done. And
Lee, you cover this so much. What's the most disappointing thing that this government has kind of done or lack of on climate?
I think one of the things is it's these approvals, I guess, because we shouldn't be approving any new fossil fuel projects or extending the licenses and expanding the ones we've already got. I think that's been disappointing. But the other thing is, I think it's just been interesting to watch how you can be better than the last guy and still be very disappointing and have that work in your favor. When I looked at it, there was this Senate inquiry into greenwashing, and it's because a lot of these big fossil fuel companies like Woodside are saying they'll do net zero by 2050. So I'm like, oh, our government's got the same line as a fossil fuel company when it comes to climate. Is that enough? Probably not.
It is amazing. Like, if I was coming into any job, the dream scenario is the person who you're taking over for was arrested or chased out in shame in some way. Like, if you show up to the first day in your job and they go, oh, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm the new Steve. And they're like, oof, Steve was the best. Good luck. That's tough. But Scott Morrison was so shit. Ended in such disgrace. It's the clearest landing you could possibly have as a new prime minister. All you have to do is not piss in your own mouth in front of a camera and hurl feces at the press pack, and you will be applauded for being not the worst thing we've seen in the last 2 years.
And that's exactly what Albo's doing. He's playing it very cool. There's no kind of there's no visits to a hairdresser to pretend to be a hairdresser. There's no visits to like a welding shop to weld some stuff with the goggles open. There's none of that goofy shit. There's no mopping of the floors to pretend you're a cleaner. He's just doing statesman stuff in boring statesman suits, giving non-committal promises to things and giving away tanks we no longer use.
When I was like, wait, do we have a carbon price? I don't know. And then did some Googling. It's like, no, we don't have like an economy wide one. There is one for industry by the looks, or there was one announced in March.
Safeguard.
Safeguard mechanism, which is maybe adjacent, but not the same thing. Anyway, like it does seem like it's just
kind of like reduce your emissions, but if not, just buy these carbon credits.
So part of this is like
all good if not.
Yeah.
The EU have a carbon market, right? And so we might be tapping into that part of this as part of this climate club. And the idea would be to build a market of our own that other companies can, be a part of. Other countries can be a part of as well. So it's like carbon tax by stealth. It's kind of carbon market by stealth, kind of getting around the 10-year-old conversation we've had about a carbon market. We used to have a carbon market. We used to be part of a carbon market, and then it went away. So
I wonder if like having the word club in there will mean they can get like a lot of footy commentators on. People are always like, look, they've done great work for the club. Proud of the boys. You know what? They've been dedicated to that club for 20 years.
It's been a decade of two halves.
Yeah.
Got to say, when Queensland gave 20 tons and it was like $400 a ton, it was great.
Yeah. Honestly, full credit to all the boys. Full credit to Rio Tinto. Full credit to BHP. They've all put in a bloody good innings.
And thanks to the ladies in the canteen.
This week's second fear. It's only been a week, and little did we know, like when we recorded the podcast last week, that Instagram Threads would be so huge. 100 million users in 1 week, which is absolutely massive. According to this report from the Daily Beast, they've actually done a bit of research. They figured out that about a quarter of the employees are using Threads. Sorry, a quarter of Twitter's employees are using Threads, which is a pretty amazing statistic. And they've been finding threads that have been written by Twitter employees and pulling them out and talking about them. And people are like, hey, this actually works. Hey, this is a pretty good And apparently one Twitter employee threaded test 1 as their first thread. I really enjoyed that.
Far out, Twitter must be such a weird place to work these days. Like you would just like, it's weird. It's a weird thing to do on paper to be like, go across, particularly in that culture, particularly when you've had Elon Musk say to the entire workforce, like, we only want hardcore people. I'm like, well, I guess the most hardcore thing of all is going across, like, it is doing this. Like, this is extremely hardcore to be this rogue. But yeah, like, I guess. Oh, yeah, disrupting your own business, like disrupt everything, like just nothing matters, we're dust, I guess, is how you might feel if you worked at Twitter. But yeah, I kind of love this story. I think that's really funny.
It is like, it's so, I love, like, obviously we all love to see Elon Musk fail. And he's sort of like a little Mr. Bean figure, a billionaire Mr. Bean. And he, with some problematic issues, but the old tweets he found when someone was like, I can't believe you're firing this person and this person, like and people I don't know, but like engineers, whatever. And he was so sarcastic at the time. He's like, yeah, I'm sure if they're really that good, these geniuses will find work quickly. And they all did. And it's all at Threads and they're all just crushing them. And it's beautiful.
Well, I'll have you know that Meta's legal team put out a release saying that we have not taken on any Twitter employees during this time.
Well, yeah, because I think they were maybe worried about some IP stuff, right? From Elon Musk.
Twitter sued them this week.
Yeah.
Twitter launched legal action again this week saying you basically copied us, and they put out a release saying, no, it's a whole new product. We don't have anyone working here from Twitter.
It's so much worse than that. Yeah, well,
like,
you can know the code.
Like, it's out, yeah, true there. But like Mastodon looks like the same. There's a lot of things he's made open source. Like, can you own the idea of just posting and resharing?
I think the plagiarism problem with Threads is much worse than that, right? It's like that they've just kind of repurposed essentially the code for Instagram. Like it's kind of that same. Like I don't know. That seems to be the worst thing that people say about Threads at the moment is that it just feels like that very sort of ad, like over recommended, like overly algorithmically driven experience. And they've said, oh, we're going to have a chronological feed, but it hasn't materialized yet.
Can I say what I'm excited about? I'm excited about Lewis Hopper posting because he never tweets, and I miss Lewis. I miss the witty aphorisms.
I got out of Twitter. I got out of Twitter some years ago, really, other than occasionally just like replying to Dan when I felt guilty that I hadn't done anything for a long time.
That's very cute.
And because I mostly just felt like it was just like a garbage fire, and it made me feel very sad every time I went there. But this Threads, Dan, it's a brave new world.
It's all Instagram people, but using their words now.
I'm loving it.
I know a guy who barely tweets on Twitter, but on Threads takes a picture of him shirtless at the beach with his surfboard, saying, "How about this?"
That's me. I'm loving it.
That's Lewis.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, Dan. But also, I will say there was another factor, which is that Threads happened to come out on a day that my baby was visiting her grandparents in Queensland. So I just also did happen to have like a 72-hour stretch where suddenly I could actually look at my phone in my day. So look, I'm glad you're enjoying the Threads, but don't get too comfortable.
Oh no. It was great.
I thought that's why you quit Triple J. You were just like, I can't stop.
I'm on Threads now. This is my new.
I'm going to be a Threadfluencer.
Yeah,
Lewis
my new
Hopper
poorly remunerated position.
Spend more time with his Threads. I love this. It's been amazing. In the 2 days after Threads launched, so 2 days later, Twitter's web traffic took a 5% dive compared to the week before. It dropped off 5%.
That's less than I would have thought, to be honest.
I think it kept climbing after that. I think it's been bad, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
when you think of Twitter, most of Twitter's users are fake bots and Bitcoin pushers who are kind of automated, so they're not on Threads yet. There's a great tweet from a great thread from a Twitter employee who, after remarking, so whatever. For folks who don't, what happened was when Threads launched, there's this ongoing meme that Zuckerberg and Elon Musk will go and fight each other in the octagon in Vegas. This is a dumb meme. But then when Threads launched, Musk put out a tweet saying that he would like to do a literal dick measuring contest to see who has got the bigger dick. And then someone from Twitter, a Twitter employee, threaded, somebody should check up on Elon. He's not taking any of this very well.
Isn't concern like that is the most damaging, like lowest thing, like just a sort of gentle concern is, oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
If you had told me at the beginning of this year that the part of the world that watches and gives a shit what happens in tech would be sitting around kind of cheering for Mark Zuckerberg in July, I would have challenged you to a cage fight. It's like, and it maybe speaks to the hateability of Elon Musk that by contrast, Mark Zuckerberg is like the people's champion now. And we're like, oh, it's like going home or something. It's like if you've had a bad time and, your life's fallen apart, then you'd like move back to your parents' place. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, it is like a devil situation because there was a time you were like, man, Facebook is really platforming a lot of Nazis. And I'm pretty sure that the Trump election is, has a lot to answer for Facebook-wise. But then everyone just stopped using Facebook after that. Everyone's like, well, we're all gone. And Instagram is like a hard place to be a Nazi because once you're shirtless, the tattoos are visible. It's very hard to be a secret Nazi. So really, like, Twitter was just so garbage that I'm back around. I'm like, maybe, and also it was also quite adorable to watch Mark Zuckerberg waste so much money on the metaverse.
Oh my god, I know.
It was so Richie Rich. He's like just created an entire world and waited for someone to come and play with him.
Build it and they will come. Oh.
We're going to burn billions. This is going to work, guys. Billions and billions of dollars.
it's not relatable in the financial sense, but having no one come to your party is like, that's like a great fear, I think, of every single human being. And there was something kind of vulnerable about the little weird lizard man in that moment.
I think there is.
Hey
Yeah,
guys,
it does.
100 million people have at my party. I'm popular again. It's really good. Everyone's here. It's great. The Rock's here. Ellen's here. Everyone's here.
It's like it is. It's like the end of the teen film from the 90s when the nerd has something good happen once. You know, like where and everyone's like, maybe he is gonna be okay. Like, and I mean, he's fine. He's fine.
He'll be fine.
Also, anyway, we learned this from the cage fighting palaver, but he's fine. He could beat all of us. He could beat all four of us if all four of us were fighting him at once. I feel no pity for Mark Zuckerberg. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm not fighting Mark Zuckerberg. Hey, if you're not a Patreon supporter, you're going to be hearing some ads that keep the podcast alive. If you are a Patreon supporter, you're about to hear a poem by Gina Reinhardt about the Voice to Parliament referendum. I don't know why that would make you want to join the Patreon feed. And maybe you are a Patreon supporter and maybe you're going to cancel your subscription. Who knows?
This is Dan's attempt to get just Gina Reinhardt to sponsor this podcast and give us $1 billion.
We did have some great Patreon members sign up, and I will be mentioning their names at the end of the podcast. So if you're not a Patreon supporter, enjoy these ads. This week's third fear, AI is going to destroy us all. Maybe. Some of the creators of the largest AI models have kind of given the odds that humanity will be destroyed by AI as much as 20%. 1 in 5 chance that, yes, iPads are going to kill us. Anyone want to guess the odds of me shitting my pants when I read that? Ange, this is your story for background briefing. 20%, is that real? A true kind of
so
stat?
that actually so this is like your P doom, right? So it's like probability doom, and doom is just like the probability that what you're talking about is a scenario where very smart AI, like smarter than us, as smart or smarter, is no longer kind of controllable anymore. So it's like a world in which it's like AI takeover.
Right.
And it's not like a now thing. So like there's all this stuff that everyone's very worried about with AI. And it's not that we shouldn't be worried about that. Like, yeah, sure, like jobs, yes, misinformation, democracy, etc. But then there's like this new kind of category of worry that has entered the frame for a whole range of people. So one of the people I interviewed was he's described as the godfather of AI, Joshua Bengio, and his P doom is 20. So he's got a 1 in 5 chance that it all goes to shit. And he's quite a conservative guy. Like he's a mathematician. He's he's always been like an AI optimist. He's also spent almost 40 years, so his entire working life, like his whole career, working towards human level artificial intelligence. So, which is kind of like, we used to call it singularity, but we don't anymore because it sounds silly. But yeah, it's like the sophisticated AI that was supposed to be showing up in, I don't know, 2050. But the timelines just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And now the best guess, or Joshua Bengio's guess anyway, so he's saying it's like a 50-50 chance to show up before in 10 years, I think he said. Yeah, so within 10 years, we could have human level AI. I mean, the most bullish predictions are like,
did they say which human?
From now.
Well, back in 2016, Donald Trump had a 30% chance of winning the election, and that was,
oh my gosh,
that wasn't going to happen.
And if they were like, look, in 10 years, it'll probably be like a rugby league player who's taken a few knocks to the head. You're like, all right, that's fine. We can work around that. If the AI gets too smart, we'll just, tap it on the side of its shoulder and watch it look around until it falls down.
One of the things that he mentioned was a AI takeover. This is a great grab you sent me. Let me play it for you.
The ultimate danger is loss of control. And the idea here is that if one of these superhuman AI, in other words, that's smarter than us in many ways, has as its dominant goal its own survival, then it would be like if we had created a new species, but one that would be smarter than us. So we would not be the dominant species on Earth anymore, which means we would not be controlling our own future. What would happen to humanity then? It's anyone's guess. But if you look back on how we've treated other species, It's not reassuring.
It's not reassuring, is it? Yeah.
We can teach them on the language models, here's how you get rid of a species.
Yeah, I did not expect this when I sat down with this guy, by the way. Like, I knew I was sitting down with someone who, and like, yeah, he's sort of been singing from this song sheet increasingly in the last few months, but he is a really kind of conservative guy. And that's not all he said. Like, he said basically, he's like, yeah, we should regulate, but we really actually need to be building good AIs to fight the rogue AIs when they eventuate.
My God, James Cameron is so good at predicting everything. It's disastrous.
It's been really hard in a way to tell this story because it sounds really like a lot like the plot of Terminator. Like it does. It really does. And so it's really hard to be taken seriously, but all these incredibly serious people, like, these major figures in AI, people who, like, by some measures, he invented it. Like, he won the Turing Award, which is the computing science equivalent of the Nobel Prize, right, in 2019. And he won it for making all the breakthroughs with two other people, granted, but he made a bunch of the breakthroughs that gave us this AI boom. Like, the reason you can't, like, swing a cat without hitting an AI story at the moment is that is in no small part Joshua Bengio, and he's like,
it's also
turned around
the
and
AI
said,
is writing all the stories.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ChatGPT journalism going on.
There really is.
Sometimes when I get lazy, there's some ChatGPT comedy as well.
I like the joke from the Big Johnny D on the comment saying we should let Elon take over the AI. It'd be dead by the end of the year. But
we're going to get Big Johnny D on the podcast. He should come on.
I guess the difference between, say, now and Terminator, in 10 years, like this sort of thing, it reminds me of, like, I don't know if you remember, this is quite a niche reference, but Tyler, the Creator, the rapper, had a very funny tweet about cyberbullying like 9 years ago, which was just like, ha, 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 ha. How is anyone ever a victim of cyberbullying? Just close your eyes. And,
checkmate.
And obviously, that obviously misses a lot of the subtleties of bullying. But it is kind of funny on the surface. And there's a point at which I'm like, if AI took over in 10 years, it wouldn't have the bodies to actually take us over. Like, it would shut down all the things that we need and use. But it would just send us back to a beautiful agrarian lifestyle. Like, if it takes over in the next 10 years, I'm okay. If it takes over in 50 years when we have those Boston Dynamics dogs, doing their thing, that's a worry. But for now,
AI is going to turn up. They're going to go, wow, capitalism sucks. We have to dismantle that. What we need to do is build
all I think about it is in the context of climate change, right? Because I'm like, if they're taking over in 10 years, they might make some rational decisions to tidy stuff up,
I think it's so telling that we've kind of looked ahead and gone like, oh, it's going to be smart. Oh, it's going to be in control and like have some agency over physical systems, which means that it could essentially subjugate the human race. And at no point have we considered that it might have a rational, big picture, smart person view of humanity and decide that we're nailing it. Yeah. Like, we know that it's gonna. We just know that it's gonna look at us.
We know
and be
the
like,
problem.
I've got to fix this.
At this point, the AI is just like the teacher who's aware that we haven't done our homework, and we're like, we should just fucking blow it up.
I really like this, Ange, that you sent. That they absolutely know how the system works, and they're finding loopholes in the game.
So reinforcement learning is the part of machine learning where we train a system to act in a way that it's like your dog getting more biscuits. So you decide when it gets biscuits. The reward is very simple, but sometimes you want more complicated behavior, and very often it's hard to get it. Like the system will get the biscuits, but not actually what you intended. They cheat. They find loopholes in the game.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the now. So like we've been talking about the sort of speculative future of this, but the reason that people are worried about this is because there's this thing called the alignment problem, which is a polite way of like a machine learning person way of saying that we can't make them do what we want them to do. And everyone agrees this is an issue, by the way. The alignment problem is not controversial. If you ask ChatGPT about the alignment problem, it will be like, you guys need to solve that. Bard, by the way, Bard gave a PDOOM of 1 to 20, which is quite a big range, but I was kind of impressed that they had a P doom at all. I was very honest.
That is Google's AI, right?
Bard is Google's chatbot, yeah. So you can go check that out. But yeah, so that's like the reason that they're worried about it is because there are already signs in how AI behaves that it is sort of moving in this direction potentially, where it's to do with the way we train it, like that dog biscuits thing that Joshua Bengio was saying. We give it rewards, so and it's like a rewards-based training system, and we check. So we're marking its like results, but not the methodology. And because it's like a black box system, we essentially can't mark its methodology at the moment. So it is doing what you might call in gaming like reward hacking, and is just doing whatever it can to get rewards. And when you, at the moment, fine, whatever, I mean, there's no major impacts, but once we have human level AI and AI is sort of integrated at all these different levels of society, I don't know, military, government, big business, banking, whatever, which is kind of the future we're looking at, and we've ceded all this control to these autonomous systems, that becomes a much bigger problem. And that's the future that they're losing sleep over.
Well, I'm losing sleep right now. This is
I was going to say, now we all are.
So what do we do, Ange? Like, how do we fix this?
Okay, it's not. I think there is movement on this. Like, okay, so OpenAI has just set up a specific. Like, the conversation has changed in the last few months, which is part of why I wanted to report on this, because these used to be like, kind of fringe concerns, and in the industry it was like, oh, that it was kind of like a nerd thing to worry about, right? And you wouldn't hear this chat from the top. You wouldn't
hear this basically. Chat from any of the jocks.
No,
us on this podcast.
Conceive of the world in high school 90s high school frameworks, obviously. But that is changing, and OpenAI has set up a team to called Super Alignment, which is in the recruiting for it. And the whole purpose of that team is to address the alignment problem. So there is a sense of urgency, at least in the industry. But then there's also the race to become the next Google, or for Google to stay being Google. Like, it's $1 trillion industry that is forming before our eyes. And so, a bunch of senior people in the industry signed this open letter back in March being like, hey, existential risk, we need to pause this thing. And then they didn't, they just went to work the next day and kept writing code. So
I feel like this is a very similar kind of strategy that folks use in climate, right? They say, we need to do something. We should do research in doing something. Let's research that. We need to research the research, make sure the research, it's kind of like this delay mechanism why these big machines kind of get bigger and bigger. And this is kind of what's happening in AI too. Like you see these big companies like Google kind of go, well, we're putting a team together to, investigate this further and figure out what this means and, do the research on this. But it's a delaying tactic so they can grow their computing in that space and just kind of still kind of outmuscle their competitors in that space.
Totally. And in leading that conversation, saying, oh, let's regulate us, please regulate us, like Sam Altman from OpenAI showing up at US Congress and saying that, that's the sure way to make sure you're part of writing the regulation, because they're like, help, we don't understand it. And Sam's like, I do. And I
spent some time writing some rules for us. Let me tell you what they are.
Yeah. I've got some rules in mind, actually. So there's that. Like you don't have the most faith, particularly after like the whole social media era and climate change. You don't have the most faith in governments to effectively regulate this. But I think the conversation is becoming more urgent. And even though in some ways like this is quite a speculative and like a strange story to be telling, like there's a reason I spent 6 weeks on it. It's because I do think that this is I want to see more people worried about this, because the thing about climate change is we all had a sense that we could vote our way out of it, and because it happened over it was a conversation that happened over decades. This is all happening in the space of a single term of government. It's actually quite difficult. Like, it's a very short ramp for action. And so I think the effort needs to measure up to that urgency and how little time we potentially have.
No, totally. I feel like that everything's moved so fast. Like 2020 is different to 2023 in this space. Entirely. Great article in The Verge this week about the manual labor involved in image models. Apparently there are there are like big kind of office blocks in Kenya where they get folks to sit in front of a computer and just describe every little thing in front of them in terms of pictures. A picture will come up and they'll say, these are clothes. These are clothes that can be worn by a human. These clothes can't be worn by a human. This is a shoe. This is a dog. This is a dog with brown dots. And it's for these folks in Kenya who have these jobs earning $5 an hour to describe by hand thousands and thousands of millions of photos. Like it's like AI we'd like to think is this kind of big machine kind of in the cloud doing machine stuff, but really there's a whole big labor section out there where it's folks with computers trying to describe every little thing that they see in front of them. It's so bizarre.
It's data, and if that data is that qualitative stuff, then it's got to come from somewhere, doesn't it?
Imagine when they finally describe the last picture. What a day. Here it is, the last picture. Phone on table.
Well, for the listener, you'll be so surprised to find out the role of Angela Vipierre was played by ChatGPT the entire podcast. You had no idea.
Tech's getting good. It's getting so good.
Yeah. So good. So scary. So scary. That is it for Irrational Fear. Big thank you to all of our fearmongers tonight. Lee Constable, Angela Vipierre, Lewis Hobber. What would you folks like to plug? Ange, what are you plugging?
Okay, I've got shows coming up at Melbourne Fringe in October, Sydney Fringe in September. And if anyone is anywhere near Edinburgh, I'm doing so many shows in Edinburgh this year, 2 a night to be exact. Also, my background briefing episode is out Friday, and you can listen to that.
All right. Lee, what are you plugging?
So the 25th of July, only a couple of weeks away, War on Waste Season 3 starts, and I'm doing a cheeky cameo on there.
Congratulations. That's great.
So you'll see me on War on Waste talking waste, landfill, bioplastics with Craig over at least one of those 3 episodes. And next month, National Science Week. On the 17th of August, I'll be at the Powerhouse, or I should say Milton Mango will be at the Powerhouse. So come along and see the drag experiment. There'll be 4 of us drag performers talking various types of science.
All right. Lewis, you finally have lots of things to announce. You've got a big tour coming up. Holy shit.
That's right. Yeah, we're doing a big farewell tour for our radio show. It's called Hobber and Hing's Last Show Ever. There will be several of them. We're doing shows in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Newcastle, Bendigo, Canberra. I think that's all we've currently got on the schedule. If they go well, we'll hopefully get further west of Melbourne, but we'll have to wait and see. And I have a brand new podcast, which I was talking about last week, but the first 3 episodes came out this week. It's called Silver Bullet, or it's called Hobber and Hing's Silver Bullet. And each week we have a great guest on who tells us a weird thing that they've tried to fix themselves. And then Hing and I try it also. And then we all review it at the end. And the first 3 episodes are out. And it's Grace Tame, the wonderful Chris Parker, the New Zealand comedian, and Abby Chatfield. And it's really fun. I'm really proud of it.
Excellent. And we have got live Irrational Fear shows coming up in a couple of months. We've got the Women Media Conference, September 9. And then the next week, on the 18th of September, we are going to the Torres Strait to do a show all about climate change and The Voice. And we've got a great lineup for that. Diet Alphanik, Leon Firewood, we've got Jay Waimara, and also our great friend Dane Simpson is going to be joining us on stage there in Thursday Island. So if you're in Thursday Island or nearby, do come along on the 18th of September and hang out with us there. That is it for this season of Irrational Fear. We had 5 quick episodes. We've got to take a few weeks off because I'm moving house. If you are on the Patreon, you'll be getting videos of our gas monologues, which are coming out, and also the Australian Secrecy Laws monologue that is going to be coming out as well in a few weeks' time. And you might even get bonus talky episodes next week. We're talking with Grace Tame and Camilla Cleese, daughter of John Cleese, about comedy and other stuff. We've been recording Irrational Fear on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation. Sovereignty was never ceded. We need a treaty. Let's start the show. No, let's end the show. That's what I wanted to say.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Great work.
If you can send me your, some of the long one tonight, if you could send me your audio, that'll be great.
Will do.
Turns out, End of the World takes a little bit of time to cover.